Hey guys, it's Rift here, and today we're going to be explaining why Blonde Blazer vs Invisigal from the new Dispatch superhero game is not even close. However, we're not going to be talking about a power scaling perspective, because lover or hater, I think we would all agree that Blonde Blazer would destroy Invisigal in a battle. Instead, we're going to look at this from a narrative and writing perspective to find out who is the better love interest for Robert. Now remember guys, this isn't a video bashing one and uplifting the other. At the end of the day, romance who you want to. They both have pros and cons, and you get sweet moments with both characters regardless of your choice. That being said, let's get started where it all began. Episode 1. After the destruction of his suit and retirement from the Mecha Man persona, Robert is introduced to Blonde Blazer when she saves him from the dubbed Skittle Gang. Descending like an angel from the heavens, she quickly fixes his fucked up arm and takes him to a bar of superheroes for a drink. Her overall objective is to get Robert to loosen up so he can be more honest about who he is, since she, as well as Chase, want to recruit him for the new dispatcher role at SDN. However, with both characters becoming intoxicated, the evening slips away from a professional job interview and more of a flirty date? Sure, she could have been honest about her intentions from the start. However, the idea that she leads him on is completely ludicrous. If you try kissing Blonde Blazer, she will reject your romantic advances, but still carry on with the evening as if nothing happened, where she ends the very sweet interaction saying,
"I'm not done saving you yet."
Overall, it's a very strong introduction to Blonde Blazer. She saves your life and offers a proposition that can help get your life back on track. A reoccurring theme within the game. She really does want to save Robert. Where the episode then ends, and now we can talk about episode 2, which begins with Blonde Blazer taking Robert into a conference room where she locks the doors, giving them privacy, and advises him to change his clothes. Whilst a little flirty with her comments, her intentions are noble. She wants to preserve his secret identity. However, they are interrupted by Invisigal, who was in the room the entire time. And this is our introduction to the invisible villain. A reoccurring theme you will notice with Invisigal is that she portrays herself as being a walking HR violation, as well as a walking red flag. And to an extent, this is justified. She was a former supervillain after all, so I don't expect her to be a moral saint. However, as you'll see later on in the game, she takes the piss a little bit compared to other supervillains. Just like the other members of the Z-Team that you are introduced to in this episode, she doesn't respond well to Robert initially. However, she stands out from the Z-Team members for two reasons. Number one, she has the lowest score on the board, and two, you actually get an interaction with her in the episode that sparks conflict. Despite helping Invisigal in her encounter against Thunderstruck, she ultimately disobeys your direct orders at the end of the encounter, leading to Granny becoming seriously burned. And the worst part is, she doesn't give a shit. From her perspective, she thinks that went well, leading to Robert in the mess room giving her one hell of a reality check.
The suit isn't what made me a superhero, it was how I did my fucking job that made me Mecha Man. Based on what I saw today, you wouldn't last a day as Mecha Man. Because there isn't a mech suit in the universe that'll keep you from being a selfish fucking asshole.
Feel bad. Good. Fuck you.
This moment really soured me on Invisigal. Not only did she disobey our orders, but then she took advantage of Robert's frayed nerves and hit him when she could have just left. And don't try telling me that Robert was asking for it by saying what he said, because she was the same person who literally mocked him for having no superpowers and for being behind a desk. She's the only member of the Phoenix program that knew he was Mecha Man at this point in the story, and she takes advantage of that to try bring him down. The punch in question leads to two interactions with Blonde Blazer, one really good and one very questionable. The one very good one is when Robert actually stands up for himself and declares that he needs to earn the Z-Team's respect and that Blonde Blazer shouldn't step in to assist him. With this likely earning him a lot of respect from Blazer, as she seems genuinely impressed with him. However, the part that fans were very quick to ridicule is the end of the episode, where it's revealed that Blonde Blazer was dating Phenomenon this entire time, with people very quick to dub her a cheater. However, I think this is unfair for quite a few reasons. Number one, Blonde Blazer has no obligations to tell Robert or anyone for that matter, about her relationship. As Blazer herself puts it,
"It's none of your freaking business."
And secondly, I think it's pretty clear that Blazer herself was about to be honest with Robert and tell him the truth about the other evening, but they were interrupted by Phenomenon before she could get the chance. Also, given that future episodes and comic books establish that her and Phenomenon's relationship is hanging on by a thread, I don't think it's a problem for her to try grow closer to other people. Especially since it's not like she tries growing closer to Robert in a romantic sense, since she herself can reject his romantic advances if you choose to kiss her in episode 1. But the episode ends with Phenomenon flying away with Blonde Blazer, and now we can start talking about episode 3, where we see Blonde Blazer's very cute interaction with Beef for the very first time.
"Oh, what's your name, little guy?"
My name's Beef and I'm naked.
"Oh, no, I refuse to believe that's what he sounds like. Robert, you got a sec?"
Where she takes him to her office and explains 2 things. Number 1, her and Phenomenon broke up, and number 2, she trusts Robert's decision to cut a member from the Z-Team. The game gives subtle signs explaining the reasoning behind the breakup, such as Phenomenon's obliviousness to social cues, as well as his treatments towards lesser beings. However, the comic books that you earn from completing episodes 3 and 4 explain this perfectly. Phenomenon is caught up in the fame, he loves the superhero life, he's not a bad person, but he prioritizes that above all else. It's all he's ever known. Whereas Blonde Blazer lived her life as Mandy, her human alter ego. She gained superpowers, but she never wanted the superpowers to define who she was, and she never wanted to be consumed by SDN completely. She had goals and plans outside of that. She wanted a life, to buy a house and live the domestic life. They had 2 conflicting ideologies, and as a result, a breakup was almost inevitable. She's probably been thinking about breaking up with Phenomenon since before the events of the game and before she even met Robert. The following dispatch mission sees the members of the Z-Team try sabotaging one another, as no one wants to be cut from the team. However, we notice something suspicious with Invisigal specifically. Number 1, I think it's suspicious that she would choose to sabotage Malevola for 3 reasons. Number 1, Malevola could probably take her fucking head off. Number 2, Malevola had the 2nd highest score of all Z-Team members, and as a result it makes no sense going after her when she could go after Coupe or Sonar, the characters with the lowest score besides her, with the 3rd reason being very suspicious that she would show up at the same location Thunderstruck is for the 2nd time in a short span of time.
Coincidence? I think not!
Especially since later on in the game, after a motivational speech, you actually get Invisigal to get off her ass and take down Thunderstruck and hand him into SDN once and for all. However, does anyone notice anything suspicious about this? Like how she struggled a lot against Thunderstruck at the donut shop, yet miraculously now she's able to take him down in a matter of seconds? I feel like the game intended the playground segment to be a nice romantic moment between Invisigal and Robert, but honestly, Robert's just doing his fucking job. He's being professional, he's trying to motivate her to get off her ass and do the right thing. It comes across as Invisigal needing special treatment in order to do the things that the other Z-Team members can do on their own without babysitting from Robert. And whilst apprehending Thunderstruck does save her from being cut from the Z-Team, Chase even remarks that he would have cut her anyways, suggesting that Invisigal's score isn't enough to make up for who she is as a character. But hey, she has a sweet moment with Beef, so who am I to complain? A nice way to conclude episode 3, and one steamy dream from Invisigal later, we can now talk about episode 4, where it becomes pretty clear straight away that both Blonde Blazer and Invisigal now have very strong feelings towards Robert. Invisigal for stalking and spying on Robert not once but twice, both in very private situations I'd like to point out, and Blonde Blazer when she trusts Robert to zip up her dress in her office, where you can compliment her on how radiant she looks in that dress. We also get another moment of trust from Blonde Blazer as she trusts Robert to take care of Phenomenon and make sure that he doesn't self-destruct any further, because he's the pep talk guy, as she lovingly puts it. On my first playthrough, I actually didn't like this moment, as I looked at it from the perspective of Blonde Blazer wanting us to sort out her problems. However, in retrospect, her reasoning makes sense.
I'd like for you to talk to him.
Me? Why me?
You're the pep talk guy. You've been through a transition recently yourself. I think he could use some perspective.
Not to mention, Robert is in charge of reforming supervillains. I'm fairly certain it would make sense that he would be the best choice to reform a depressed superhero. However, now we've reached the part that you guys have been looking forward to. The part where you can choose to either date Blonde Blazer or Invisigal. Let's go through both options. For me at least, I never understood the Invisigal romance option, because there's nothing special about her that sets her apart from other Z-Team ladies. You help her become a better person, sure, but that sentiment also applies to Waterboy, Phenomenon, Sonar, Coupe, Malevola, and Prism. Like, by that logic, you should be able to romance any of those characters. And Robert helping her find her feet doesn't qualify as romantic interest, since again, that's literally his fucking job, and that's the entire point of the Phoenix program.
The Phoenix symbolizes redemption. It's what you're here for. It's what connects everyone in this room. To burn up who you were, to become who you were meant to be.
As a result of this, I really don't see why anyone would be attracted to Invisigal, aside from the wet dream sequence and the fact that she stalks you. Since again, the whole I can fix her mentality would also apply to Malevola, Prism, and Coupe if you choose not to cut her. As for Blonde Blazer's option, I can't help but thinking that this is objectively the better choice. Despite the deep insecurities she feels about her secret identity, she makes the decision on her own to reveal the truth to Robert. It takes a lot of bravery and it's something that's eating her up, and as a result it's really endearing that she does it almost immediately as Robert appears, where it's then revealed that she has laid out a candlelit dinner for the two of you, which is just romantic. It truly shows us just what sort of person Blonde Blazer is. Even when she feels deep insecurities about herself, she still looks out for the well-being of others and ensures that they have a perfect time, herself included. A satisfying romantic close to episode 4 and the halfway point of the game. Episode 5 begins differently depending on your romance option, since if you choose Invisigal, the day begins as normal. However, if you choose Blonde Blazer, you get a cute interaction with her in the locker room, where she timidly asks you about the prospect of a second date and asks which one of her personas you would prefer to go with. Regardless of your option, Robert is very honest and caring, and as a result it's very satisfying to see her face light up like a Christmas tree at the prospect of dating someone so honest and refreshing. Also, I think it speaks volumes about Blonde Blazer when Galen, the guy who can hear everything, says this at the end of the interaction.
Bro, you're so lucky.
I know.
However, this is the last interaction with Blonde Blazer, since episode 5 is all about team building with the Z-Team, and as a result, you spend much more time with Invisigal in this episode, where if you chose to go on a date with her at the end of episode 4, you have a cute interaction with her in the bar, where you can choose to either go on a second date, or you can friendzone her there and then. Your choice. But as nice as this moment is, that's pretty much the only standout moment for Invisigal in this episode, since as I said, it's a Z-Team episode, meaning that you spend as much time with Invisigal as you do with the other Z-Team members. Also, episode 5 marks the beginning of Malevola being strangely flirty with Robert throughout the rest of the game, which begs the question, why wasn't she a romance option?
Here, try this.
Thanks.
Ooh, there she is. Thanks, babes. Sauce it up for me and everything. Think you're looking for these.
The evening with the Z-Team concludes, and as does episode 5, where we can now look at episode 6, and after one failed experiment to get the Mecha Man suit back online, we get this adorable interaction between Blazer and Robert. I actually have no words here, please just look.
Red ring or enhanced, proceed with caution. Oh, one sec. What are you doing up? You really gave us a scare.
I think it speaks volumes to her feelings for Robert, since she's willing to abandon everything just to be a big blonde teddy bear and give Robert a cuddle. It's such a nice moment. And this isn't exclusive to the Blazer romance option either, since she does something similar if you choose the Invisigal route, showing how much she cares for Robert. She even shows empathy and remorse that they couldn't get the Mecha Man suit operational, and she walks off with a bit of a flirty undertone.
Hey, really looking forward to tonight. Perfect timing.
Yeah, same. Wait, what are you...
However, Invisigal has her moments in the spotlight too, since later on in the episode, Invisigal and the other members of the Z-Team surprise Robert with a house party, or an apartment party, Or a shed party, given how shit his apartment is, I guess. It's very thoughtful, and you even get to dance with the character that you choose to romance in the game. If you choose to dance with Blazer, well, Invisigal will look very jealous, and if you choose to dance with Invisigal, Blazer maintains her professional demeanor, but interestingly enough, Chase looks furious in the background, almost as if he never approved of Invisigal to begin with. Regardless of your choices, a conflict between the characters brew, since the astral pulse has been located, and Invisigal wants to get it as soon as possible, but Blonde Blazer and the others want to stay back and form a plan. This leads to a drunken Chase verbally tearing Invisigal apart, with Invisigal storming off, and Blazer offering comfort to Chase as well as Robert, regardless of your choices. Again, showing her emotional maturity and how much she cares for the guy. However, as far as I'm concerned, this is the last good episode for Invisigal, since she disobeys the notion of the team and instead goes to the dock alone to try get the astral pulse, where she nearly dies by the hands of Shroud, which forces Chase or Trackstar to save her, which puts the guy in critical condition, leaving his fate ambiguous until the beginning of episode 7. Beside Chase's comatose body, Robert explains his past to Blonde Blazer, how Chase helped bring him up since his dad was rarely around, and how he would always go to the shops and bring Robert whatever he wanted, where Blazer offers her sympathy and listens to him. She even does something very sweet and reenacts what Chase did in his past, offering him money for the vending machine, saying that he can get whatever he asks for. Blazer will do this regardless of whether you romance her or not. However, if you choose the romance option with her, she will nuzzle up to your hand very affectionately, offering her support and kindness. Not only was this a fantastic moment between Robert and Blazer regardless of your romance path, however, later on in the episode we get a great moment of the Z-Team. It's shown in the episode that every character is deeply affected by the near-death experience that Chase has suffered, even the Z-Team members, with them showing remarkable emotional maturity for immature children at the start of the season, to such an extent that the overwhelming majority of the Z-Team want to cut Invisigal completely. Suspension isn't enough for them, they want to get rid of her altogether. And on my first playthrough of the game, I decided that that was exactly what I wanted to do. She's had more chances than anyone else. She's made the same mistake twice, the first time injuring Granny and the second time nearly killing Chase. She may have had good intentions, however her actions betrayed the team, and that's what matters. And this is made all the worse when Courtney comes clean in the locker scene, where it's revealed that she planted the explosion on the Mecha Man suit that not only destroyed Robert's chances of becoming a superhero, but also injured him for a long ass time. Even if she did mature throughout the events of the game, and she genuinely expressed remorse at her past actions, she literally fucked herself yet again, which causes Chase to nearly lose his life. And this is in direct contrast to the very end of episode 7, which sees Blonde Blazer rescue Robert from Shroud and the Red Ring. Even though Blazer went alone and she concedes that she would eventually die if a fight broke out in the bar, that doesn't matter to her. Robert's safety is all that she cares about in that moment, confirming that what she says in episode 1 is very much the truth. She really isn't done saving our life. Fast forward to episode 8, and this once again is very much the case, with Blonde Blazer willing to take a fully charged blast from Shroud's robot to save Robert, to such an extent that she is willing to give up her superpowers altogether in order to give them the advantage against Shroud. And even though my feelings towards Invisigal were rock bottom at this point, I still forgave her for her past transgressions and untied her from the zip ties, allowing her to help in the final battle. Yet despite this act of kindness, she kills Shroud for Robert, denying him the opportunity for revenge, where she then takes up Shroud's mask and becomes the new villain. I know I cut her from the Z-Team, but I still forgave her and also untied her to give her another chance, and that's how she repays me? If you do hold her hand throughout the entire adventure, she does take a bullet for you, which is sweet and all, but Blonde Blazer did did that already. She took a much bigger bullet in the form of a giant energy blast. However, what's annoying about Invisigal is that regardless of your options, she will not be present for the final scene. She will either be hospitalized or she will abandon you with the Red Ring members. On the other hand, regardless of your options, you get a very cute interaction with Mandy on the car, not to mention she joins in with the group photos with the Z-Team at the very end, making Mandy feel more like a member of the Z-Team than Invisigal ever was. Which is ultimately what Mandy wanted from the very beginning, to be accepted as Mandy and not Blonde Blazer. So with the brief synopsis of the interactions with the characters throughout the plot, who is the ultimate romance option for Robert? And well, it's no surprise to anyone, it's Blonde Blazer. From the very moment you meet Blazer to the very moment the credits roll, she has been with you throughout the entire game. She wants the best for you. She wants to redeem you however she can. Blazer has a shaky start as she has red flags in the first 3 episodes. However, episodes 4 and onwards, she is perfect throughout the rest of the game. And despite the red flags of the unprofessional job interview and her flirting with Robert when she's dating Phenomenon, at the end of the day, she is still a good person in spite of this. She changes Robert's life for the better, and episodes 4 onwards, as I said, she basically has no red flags throughout the entire rest of the adventure. She flirts with Robert, offers him moral support, and is even willing to take a laser beam for him, with Blazer also willing to sacrifice her superpowers, potentially even in the long run, just to save herself, Robert, and the Z-Team. Invisigal, on the other hand, gave me constant reasons to dislike her throughout the story. I don't blame her for being a bitch at the start, because at the end of the day, she was a supervillain. However, the same thing can be said for the other Z-Team members. They were former villains and were assholes to Robert at the start of the game. However, through hard work, they warmed up to Robert and became a family and not a group. And they did so with far less work on Robert's behalf. Invisigal throughout the entire season gave me reasons not to trust her. She disobeyed direct orders not once but twice, with consequences on both occasions. Even Shroud himself is genuinely puzzled where Visigal's loyalties lay. Don't get me wrong, it is nice that she does take a bullet for you if you hold her hand throughout the entire adventure, but Blonde Blazer does the exact same thing, and she does so whilst also being your moral compass, as well as being emotional support throughout the entire story. Make no mistake, I am not here to tell you that Invisigal is the wrong choice. If you would like to redeem her and romance her, that is entirely up to you. However, as far as I'm concerned, when discussing who is the better romance option on a subjective and I guess objective level, it will always be Blonde Blazer. And it's not even close. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below. If you want more Dispatch content from me, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Discord server. Also tune into live streams where we play games and talk about your favourite fictional characters. Thanks guys, and I will see you all in the next one.